All right, we are continuing in chapter 30 of Proverbs. We have reached all the way to verse 20. Let me record that. And let's go. This is the way of an adulteress. She eats and wipes her mouth and says, I've done nothing wrong. Okay, so the adulteress, the eating and wiping her mouth implies she commits the adultery. She commits the indulgence. I'm done. She's completed it. She can set it aside now. And she says to herself that there was nothing wrong with her interrupting this man's marriage, this wife's marriage, this family's unity. Okay, she wanted something. She wanted to satisfy herself. She has received the satisfaction she desired, and she doesn't care the repercussions that come of it. And this is the way, of adultery. This is the way of our world. It would say, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow you die. Worry about me. Worry about me, and worry about today. This is the important stuff. When adultery, sixth commandment violation here, thou shalt not commit adultery. Adultery is one of the most disruptive things to society, one of the most disruptive things to life. When you sleep with another person, you have become one with them. Like unto marriage that God created, you have become one. And if they are already one with someone else, or if you're not married, you're disrupting the future marriage or the present marriage with your actions. And you don't care because it's adultery. One of the reasons you should get married before you have sex is it places sex into the right context that God has, but it makes you care about the sex and the effects of the sex. There could be children. You cause hormones to change in the mind. You cause a connection that is a permanent connection. It can be severed, but it is a permanent connection. And you do something before God, a gift he has given, and you're saying to him a statement about what you think of his gift, the gift of marriage. So don't be an adulteress. When you're hungry, yes, there are right ways to satisfy your hunger. But don't, if you satisfy your hunger every time you feel it, you're probably going to bloat up many times. Many people are going to bloat up to be about 600 pounds. And if you satisfy adultery every time you feel it, you're going to destroy families. You're going to destroy your own opportunity to have a beautiful relationship. You're going to also place yourself in jeopardy before God. Moving on. 21. Under 3 things the earth trembles. Under 4 it cannot bear up. So here goes the 3 and the 4 again. A servant who becomes king, a fool who is full of food, an unloved woman who is married, and a maidservant who displaces her mistress. 4 disasters. 4 situations which go against the natural order of things, and because of this, cause everything around to be off kilter. You like how I got off kilter? Everything around to be off kilter. The first is a servant who becomes king. Now, we would find this an odd statement, I think, in our democratic republic, where we say anyone could become president. Even I could become president. But if you go back to, say, Aristotle, and he wrote, was it Aristotle? I think it was Aristotle who wrote about how they should set up a school and people should be raised from 4 or 5 years old to learn about rulership so that by the time they become a ruler, they have all the skills and knowledge necessary. Kind of a progressive idea. But anyway, the concept here, and the concept presented here, is that you need preparation to become king. There are certain skill sets which need to be developed. I will go from king to something I do understand, pastor. The Bible tells us that a pastor should be a person who's been in the faith for a while, a person, there's many other traits, but also a person who is given to teach a person who is educated. If you allow a person to become a pastor at 5 years old, pint-sized preachers, look it up on the internet, or you allow a person to become a pastor with very little instruction, it is like putting a servant into the place of a king. There are things which you're not prepared to do. There are parts of Scripture which are difficult to interpret. There are relationships between people which some training helps you in understanding. There are situations which develop where a judgment call must be made, and it's good to have the example and knowledge of the history of the church and the history of how people have acted in the church, as well as the history of the Bible and how people acted in the Bible. And there's the study of Proverbs. All of these things add to and increase the preparation, the ability of a pastor to do his job well, to be a leader. And so you don't want the acolyte to go and step into the pulpit, and you don't want the servant to step into the king's role. And when you're electing a president, there's a reason we look at governors and senators and those who have experience. It's not only so we can look at their record and see how have they operated in the past, but it's also because when you enter into those positions, it's very difficult for an outsider to maneuver and to be able to properly get things going and moving in the course of governing. Okay? Used quite a bit of time on that servant thing. All right. So anyway, the servant who becomes king, a fool who is full of food, the earth trembles under that. You can't bear it up. A fool who is full of food isn't going to work, and a fool who is full of food has plenty of time to cause trouble. He can allow his mind to do anything. Well, I have this idea. So first of all, he has no motivation to do something which will be constructive. And second of all, he has plenty of time now to do stuff which is destructive. Idle hands are the devil's playground, and a fool who has everything he needs is going to find something else to keep his hands busy. And since he's a fool, it's going to be destructive. If your kids are bored, I'm bored. What are they going to do? Well, they're probably going to do a fight with the other kids, or they'll go out and they'll destroy something, or you can come up with all the wonderful, beautiful things that kids seem to accomplish. Occasionally have a kid who will then do art or something, but they're not fools. And most kids are fools. Most adults, can have a tendency to foolishness. Moving on. An unloved woman who is married. The Bible is full of these in the stories of the Old Testament in particular. So you have Leah and Rachel is probably the prime example, where Leah is married to Rachel. They're both married to Jacob. Can't speak. They're both married to Jacob, and Jacob loves Ruth, and he really, Leah is just his wife. And it causes her great despair, and then they have the fights over having kids, and then he has to marry the two handmaidens. It's just not a good situation. And in marriage, you are supposed to be loved, which means cared for, served, cherished, honored. The husband is supposed to do all those things for his wife. He's supposed to want her to have a better life than he has. Want her to be seen as a better person than he is. And so if she is unloved, if he's not looking out for her interest to the best of his ability, even his sinful ability, this is something which causes really hardship in families, causes hardship in society, causes problems. Let's go to the last one. And a maidservant who displaces her mistress. Again, the prime biblical example here would be with Abraham and Sarah, and he marries Hagar and has a child with her, and then she thinks that she can take the place of Sarah in his affection because now she has a son for him, Ishmael, and Sarah comes to him and complains because she's being treated with despite. And then Abraham releases Sarah on her, and then she runs out into the desert, and you know the whole story. there is a reason that a husband is married to a wife and that she is his first and primary relationship. That's how God made it to be. You have God, actually, as your first and primary, but after that, a human relationship, and this world presently, Christ is human. In this world presently, that relationship is your spouse. And so the husband's first and primary concern needs to be his wife. And if he has someone else supplanting that wife in his affections and his regards, it is like unto adultery. It is desertion of the wife, and it's going to cause terrible effects upon the household, upon the wife. It's going to disrupt relationships which are naturally one in authority, one in subservience. It's going to disrupt the love which is natural between husband and wife. It's going to be seen by those under their care, and they're not going to know how to properly treat these various entities. Do I treat the mistress better because he actually loves the mistress, or do I treat the wife better because the wife has the official position of authority? So it causes chaos. The earth trembles, everything quakes, everything is unsteady. So here's the advice. Let's close with this. If you are married to a woman, gentlemen, remember that she has priority. And if you need to axe relationships with girlfriends who aren't, I'm not talking sexual girlfriends, just friends who are girls, friends who are women. If you need to make certain that you don't spend time alone with people who aren't your wife, if you need, what you need to do is make your wife comfortable and know that she is first. That she is the one who is your wife and no one else. So let's close it there. Have God's blessings.